A very good evening to all our viewers. You're with us on Witness. I'm Zulfikar Khan. I'm filling in for Quatrina Hussain. The past 2 weeks have been extremely difficult for Pakistan, starting off with the embassy siege in Kabul, followed by the bombing in Karachi, and of course the atrocity in Mastoong and the death of Burhanuddin Rabbani, which took place yesterday. In the backdrop of all of this, there is renewed pressure once again on Pakistan to go after the Haqqani network. Pakistani forces are already overstretched, and many analysts and many politicians believe that this is perhaps not the right time to go after the Haqqani network. Today we're going to analyze just what situation Pakistan is facing right now and what is the way forward. Joining me in my Lahore studios, I have with me Dr. Farooq Hasnat, scholar, Middle East Institute. Sitting right next to him is senior journalist Mr. Ejaz Haider, and joining us from Islamabad is Syeda Abida Hussain. She is a senior leader from the Pakistan People's Party. A very warm welcome to all of you, and thank you for being here. Dr. I'll start off with you. Do you think that this is the right time for us to go after the Haqqani network? Can we go after the Haqqani network?
No, not at all. We have to see the situation, what's actually happening. In Afghanistan, there's a large presence of US and NATO troops. In spite of that, as you said in the beginning, the Taliban, a faction of Taliban were able to take control of Kabul city for hours and hours together. And now this assassination of Rabbani. So all this shows that all is not well in Afghanistan, in spite of the fact that US is present there. And Karzai government is extremely weak. They are not weak in terms of security, they are also weak in terms of devising some methodology through which a national government, a future national reconciliation can be made and future national setup can take place in Afghanistan, so that American and NATO troops can leave with a reasonable kind of peace and tranquility within Afghanistan. So the problem not lies with what faction Pakistan should confront or what faction Pakistan should support. The problem lies, the basic problem lies within Afghanistan, vis-a-vis the United States, NATO on the one hand, and Karzai government on the other.
Mr. Haider, now, do you think that this is perhaps a face-saving mechanism by asking for Pakistan to go after the Haqqani network? America is perhaps face-saving and hiding from the problems that they face, shying away from the problems that they face in Afghanistan?
No, see, the Americans are facing lots of problems in Afghanistan. Haqqani network is just one part of the large problem, which subsume a number of other problems. But I think now, if we look at what has happened in the last week, starting with the meeting between Secretary Clinton and Foreign Minister Khar, there was an emphasis on counterterrorism, read the Haqqani network. This was last Sunday. Then on Friday, you have a meeting between Mullen and General Kiani. Once again, the topic was the Haqqani network. Today, we know now for sure, because the American sources have also disclosed this, the quiet meeting between Generals Pasha and Petraeus. Once again, the topic is Haqqani network. Now, let's try and posit it differently. What is it that the Americans are saying? It's not so much about physically going into North Waziristan. I mean, I have appeared on this program before in front of you, and I had said that we don't need to go into North Waziristan. And I gave the reasons for that.
Right.
I have, as we speak, written an article once again saying that taking out the Haqqani network in and of itself is not going to solve America's problem. What the Americans are demanding when they say that you have to do something about the Haqqani network, now if you look at what Mullen has said and also what Panetta has said in Washington, they are saying that this is a proxy used by the inter-services intelligence. So the signal is that whatever the Haqqani network is doing in terms of operating inside Afghanistan is perhaps, if not planned, tacitly accepted by the premier intelligence agency of Pakistan. So therefore, when they talk about taking out the Haqqani network, they are essentially saying that now that we have given a drawdown schedule and we are planning to get out, and we are also trying to dialogue with the Taliban, and we'll come to that in a short while. This is something which is unacceptable because you have the audacity with which allegedly, because so far they have not given us any evidence, at least I don't know if any evidence.
They say they have evidence, but they haven't shared it.
They haven't shared it. Maybe they have shared it with General Kiani or General Pasha, but we haven't seen it.
Right.
So, but assuming that they have evidence that Haqqani network has done this, then it becomes interesting in the sense that they are signaling clearly and alleging that whatever the network is doing is actually accepted by Pakistan's premier intelligence agency. The question then comes, and once again this is based on the assumption that they have evidence. Then the problem is, they are saying that you have leverage which you can use and get Haqqani to stop what he is doing.
Right.
The other problem is that immediately after the Kabul attack, Sirajuddin Haqqani spoke with Reuters, and he said that we are prepared to talk if the United States talks with us within the larger framework of its dialogue with the Taliban.
And recognizes all factions of the Taliban.
Yeah. So what this has actually indicated is that after mounting this attack, a very audacious attack, they have now been asked by whoever is guiding them to put out this statement.
Right. And he also said that, you know, we're not based in Pakistan because Pakistan is not safe for us anymore.
That is correct.
Right.
I mean, in the sense that Dande da Pakhel, the area where they had their seminaries, that place is known. So it is easier for them to relocate to the Loya Paktiya area, which is the three provinces of Khost, Paktiya and Paktika. So, and because, you know, they can operate from there more sort of, you know, comfortably. But again, I will emphasize that this is not about the physical part of it. It is not about where Haqqani is located.
Right.
It is what Pakistan is being asked to do is that the allegation is that Pakistan is using the Haqqani network. And therefore, whatever operations that the Haqqani network fighters are mounting are essentially guided by or tacitly accepted by Pakistan.
Right. Now let's cross over to Islamabad. Madam Abida, I'd like to ask you that an allegation that often comes from Washington as far as the Haqqani network is concerned is that the civilian and the military leadership are perhaps not on the same page. What would you say to that?
Well, you know, really we live in a security driven state, Maria. So the civilian leadership at best and worst of times has been used really by our security apparatus to take the blame, to take the curses and the abuses, but policy is not really made, allowed to be made by the civilian leadership. Anything to do with Pakistan's security is the preserve of our security institutions. Now, the chronology that I have in mind is that we seem to be, our security institutions seem to be very irritated that we were not kept in the loop in the conversations on the winding down of NATO forces and talks with the Taliban on the between the Taliban and the Karzai government in Kabul. And a representative of Iran was included in the first round of conversations, but Pakistan was precluded. This seemed to bother us, and so we have sectarian incidents that are in areas on the closer to Iran that are on the increase. At the same time, we are, of course, seeking to link ourselves in terms of the energy context with Iran. So while The Hazaras are fair game and they can be gunned down when they are seeking to visit the shrine in Mashhad. At the same time, the Iran-Pakistan gas pipeline we are supportive of. So here we are trying to play our own game with Iran. And but as far as Afghanistan is concerned, you see the two bordering states, Iran and Pakistan, I would have thought ought to have been on the same page really to assist the Karzai government in a more genuine way, to be in preparedness for a de-escalation of the physical presence of foreign troops. This doesn't seem to be happening either. So really where this leaves Pakistan, I personally as a citizen of this country have an increasing level of discomfort. I have no option as a Pakistani but to trust the security institutions of my country. At the same time, the security institutions of my country do not necessarily have a glorious record in moments of crisis.
Right, so on that note, I'm going to ask you, Madam Abida, I'd like to ask you, when you say that they don't have a glorious record, and as you mentioned that the civilian leadership often takes the blow for the actions of the military. On that note, I'd like to ask you that, as Mr. Ejaz said, and of course, you know, this is the general perception, that there is perhaps a tacit agreement between the ISI and the Haqqani network. What do you say on that?
Well, I wouldn't really know. I mean, I can't speak from a position of information because I'm neither a confidant of the Haqqani network nor of our security institutions. I can only comment as a political worker and as a citizen. And my thought is that the performance of political leadership has not been entirely glorious either. But at the same time, from the point of view of the people of Pakistan, we look towards civil and military leaders to first of all be on the same page, to speak with one voice. We would hope that the most competent people among the civilian leadership get opportunities to lead their country, and at the same time we would expect our commanders to take into account the nervousness that the citizenry feels with regard to regional powers and superpowers breathing down our necks. Right.
Dr. Hasnat, now, do you think that America is doing all that it can on its side of the border, considering that, you know, the attack on the US Embassy was carried out in Kabul? These people traveled to Kabul, they were planning an attack there. Do you think that they're doing all that they can on their side?
You know, actually, that's what exactly I was going to say, that it's asking too much from Pakistan to look after the security of Afghanistan or the Americas in Afghanistan, because Afghanistan has a separate dynamics and all. And here I would like to say that we are depending and we are concentrating too much on security issues. Well, security issue is important, law and order is important, but the whole issue has to be seen in a much broader definition of security, which also and tranquility and some kind of stability in the the country of Afghanistan, so that the Americans and NATO can leave. That, for me, the most important thing is building up of the institution. Secondly, the economic development in the area, because just pinning down the people through military might is not enough. If that is required, it has to be followed very quick. It should have been followed very quickly by massive economic developments, even in the rural areas and areas which could be reached. Secondly, what about the national army? There is no national army in Afghanistan. If there is an army, it consists of Uzbeks and Tajiks. Pashtuns have been just left out. And thirdly, where is the parliament? And we know what happened to the election. The second presidential elections were rigged. It was recognized by everybody that they were rigged. So Mr. Karzai does not have a reasonable legitimacy to be the president of that country. And coming back to the parliament, where is the parliament? We